Listen and subscribe to the Table of Truth on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Welcome, everybody, to Blerdlines. It's your man, Cam. With me, as always, is...
This is Josh, a.k.a. Icarus.
As well as...
And this is the Professor, D, a.k.a. today, Aracene.
Wow. And we're gonna review Marvel's Eternals. Came out like about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I'm always gonna get these wrong. I'm just gonna say 2 weeks every time and just
No, you're right this time. Marvel Eternals came out November 5th.
Okay. All right. So we and we've all seen it against our better judgment, D'Angelo. And we had to bribe him to actually watch this. I'm like, yo, man, it's not like he's that bad. Like,
damn near.
You gotta review it, bro. Come on.
They're staking their reputations on this, so I'm not gonna say anything.
Yo, man, do it for the culture.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, we're gonna review Eternals. We've all seen it, and we all have different views on it, and whether it was good or great or whatever is. I'm gonna start positive, so I'll start.
Just shots fired. I'm just
okay.
Which way?
So Eternals came out again to mixed fanfare. It was pretty hilarious. I think I love the takes that were like kind of like super wide out there. Like, did you even watch the movie? And then all the other ones that are just kind of like, I think someone had a really good review. They're like, yeah, this is the movie that all the critics have been waiting for to go in on, rightfully so or wrongfully so. So he's like, so most of the reviews are going to be kind of shit anyways, because they've been waiting to shit on the Marvel movie and they finally can. I actually enjoyed watching it, like just off the rip. Like I actually, there's good points, there's low points, but overall I was like, oh, okay. I didn't feel like I wasted my time. But I know D'Angelo might have felt a little different.
What? Why do you say? Why would you say such a
thing? Tell him why you mad. You know what really grinds my gears?
Well, you know what? As I was watching that movie and I saw those Eternals, I just flew into a rage. Hey, it was too long. The movie, I thought, could have gone a little bit. See, I think for me, it wasn't about that this movie was one that I was hoping that, oh, this is it. I'm going to be able to tear Marvel apart. The MCU apart. This is the movie. Because I would argue that I've done that already with Thor, Dark World, and probably Captain Marvel. There's a few of them. But not as bad.
That's Cam's favorite movie. Don't talk about Captain Marvel like that.
Oh well.
All I got to say is why do you guys both hate women? I'm an ally.
Hey, man. As I was saying about Eternals, which has some very strong women characters in that.
Completely dodging that question.
No, but I didn't hate it. I just thought that among of all of Marvel's efforts, and the one that felt like, okay, this is the great opportunity to go further on the cosmic side of the universe, and really develop that in a meaningful way that makes you look forward to what's next. They didn't do that. This was a very middle of the road Marvel film, and it shouldn't have been that. You got the Celestials, you have the Eternals, and obviously they're serving two audiences. They're serving the audience that is just loves the MCU movies and the mythos that it's developed as an adaptation, and not concerning what it's based on or what is comic canon. So that's one audience, and then there's the audience of those of us who are like, yo, I heard the Eternals are going to be in this movie. I mean, yeah, the Eternals. I heard the Celestials are going to show up in this movie. What? The Celestials are going to be in this movie? The characters that were throwing planets at Thanos are going to be in this movie? So it's two minds, and I think they went way too middle of the road trying to serve those.
I would say I was going to say the same thing. I think that was like it felt like a mid-tier MCU movie, which puts in the realm of like a Doctor Strange, like that realm, right? Like I didn't think it was horrible, but it wasn't anything like I was telling one of my friends that's like a casual Marvel fan. I was like, if you don't need to watch this, but if you did, it's not gonna add or subtract too much from you.
Right.
And I think the things I did like about it, though, I really like the Celestials, or that they like. I'm glad they did it on that scale, and the designs are really fresh. Like I really enjoyed that. That made me more hopeful for like everyone says, like for the Galactus and like the more the cosmic aspect of it. I also like the. I actually enjoyed a lot of the designs for the actual Eternals, like their costuming and stuff like that. Like the shit was dope. But as you were kind of saying, it was probably about 20, 25 minutes, a little too long. And also, I think they were trying to go for a scale that didn't really feel they needed for the characters. Like, unfortunately, Eternals, even in the comics, they're pretty much knockoff New Gods at this point. Right. And I think I can't even remember what the story was. I think it was like Kirby was mad at DC or vice versa, and he made one or the other. But Eternals have never really been used like in a way that's worth it in the comics, probably in the last 20 years, if that. Like maybe there's maybe one or two good stories with the Eternals, but in general, they're kind of just there. They're not really like something that has like a lot of like weight. So for me, the Eternals, I was like, all right, well, I know of the Eternals. They're not really that great. So let's see if you guys can do something with it. And I think they did a little bit here and there for certain characters, but then just in overall, it kind of landed pretty flat. And I think that, you don't need to rush to go see it, but if you did see it, it's not like, oh, okay, all right, well, that was cool, and you just keep it moving,
Yeah, I think there was in a conversation that D'Angelo and I were having earlier, there was one of the things that he mentioned was something that I felt very strongly is that there's a lot of wasted screen time. Could have been a much shorter film. There was a lot of needless exposition. Just the pacing wasn't terrible. It was just a little off in certain spots. And it just wasn't written in the standard Marvel formula. Like the things that usually make a Marvel film work weren't as present or didn't show up the same way. They were present, they just didn't show up the same way.
And they also missed, we already know that Marvel has a problem with villains, and so like even in this one, the lack of the villain was just like, all right, we already know you guys are horrible at villain, and then you guys even made it worse. And I was like, because someone asked me, they're like,
the deviants definitely. Usually when they rewrite a character or rewrite a thing about a character, usually it works. Like it makes sense, and you don't really feel like, oh man, this isn't like the comic book. You don't walk away from even the weakest Marvel film to date. If you walk away, you don't walk away from, I don't know, Thor: The Dark World feeling like Malekith was just completely a terrible, terrible recreation. Like he was still, even with that being a pretty weak Marvel flick, it still felt like, all right, yeah, right. Elves, got it. Yep, no problem. Yep. Like you didn't feel like it was unfaithful to the comic book or whatever. But reworking the deviants to this degree was just like, I mean, Thanos is a deviant, for crying out loud, in the books. And they just completely made the deviants just. I'm even sure what to walk away with. Basically, in terms of how they reworked it, like it didn't.
I mean, as D'Angelo called them, space dogs.
They prehistoric. Exactly. That's all they was, sent to eat the dinosaurs.
Yeah, pretty much. and it was kind of crazy because I was like, the way they went with that, I was kind of like, you guys could have actually you could have went the Marvel trope where it's like the bad guy is like just the mirror image of the main protagonist. Right. And that would have been fine because the deviants are basically that. And that actually would have probably been more fun to mess around with. I had to double check for Jack Kirby and the New Gods. And so he made the New Gods first and then had a whole thing and it was like his epic thing, and then they got abruptly canceled. He went back to Marvel and then he made Eternals, which is again knockoff New Gods. And for everyone out there that's not a comic book nerd, New Gods is kind of what this was supposed to be, but better.
Yeah, from DC.
Yeah,
but
from
better.
DC basically, and they almost did it. They got greenlit with Ava and all that, which would have been quite interesting. I don't know if she would have been able to pull it off, but I was actually curious to see it.
But then she got Snyder, and we
King, who's a great writer, on board. What'd you say?
You got Snyder.
Then it got Snyder, but we won't.
That's not right.
Snyder as an adjective. Let's go.
That's not right.
But yeah, also high point for me. I thoroughly enjoy a happy, laughing, and loving Jon Snow. Shit was amazing. He was just
man.
Yo, yes. He was bouncing he was bouncing through the scenes. He's like, hey guys, I'm just out here. I'm not gonna frown. I'm just gonna like have fun.
Not dour. Nothing's wrong.
Jokes.
Cool.
You know,
I'm actually happy.
Like, I'm not wearing heavy, pelts. It's not negative freezing out here.
He's like, that's gonna be next movie, guys. Not this one though.
Exactly. I can use my natural British accent. I don't have to, whichever one it is. I don't have to make it slightly fantastical.
Southern South London accent.
Exactly.
But I mean, it was just like even the back to the exposition thing, like the bit at the end, in the third act. Cersei's at the base of a volcano. She's about to do a thing that I'm not going to spoil, but she's about to use her powers to do a thing, and it's about 4 shots, roughly adding up to about 2 minutes of her doing this. Whoa, there's a volcano.
Well, see, like, Josh, what was happening was
every third shot was pivoting back to her.
She was waiting for a DoorDash. She was waiting for DoorDash, so she had to do something.
Wow. Yeah, it just, it was about 3 shots in every third shot in a sequence where they just pivoted back to her, and she's like, I'm at the base of a volcano, and it's really shaky down here.
Josh, you got to give her a little bit of slack, though, because that's one of them situations where you about to defy your parent, and that you got to think at least 1, 2, 3 times about that. And especially
she was literally just standing at the base of a volcano looking like, what shall I do?
Yeah, I think the individual Eternals themselves, like casting wise, it was interesting because like Angelina Jolie looks like old and bored through like the whole thing. Sad.
She's bored. Stop that.
She looked bored. She didn't look
really bored.
She
looked bored. Like she was just like, how much is this check again? All right.
Yeah. Seriously, like
I also think Gemma Chan was a little miscast just because she's like hardcore in everything else she's been in, and to have her, I mean, yay for versatility. First of all, I don't want to make it sound like she should just play, action heroes or villains or whatever, because that's what she's done in the past and done a really good job at it.
True.
But this type of stage presence that she usually has was lost in that role. Like she really didn't again, great yay for versatility. Yes. Great that she's, playing a softer character than she's usually played in the past as far as like Marvel characters go. But it's for some reason, and, maybe it's just me, typecasting her, but for some reason, it just didn't land the way that it should have. Like, I feel like someone else could have played Cersei.
Yeah, it didn't land. And I also think not just the performance, but positioning her as the main protagonist. Because she was undoubtedly positioned as the main protagonist, because eventually she, I'm not going to spoil it, but she's the thing that the narrative is sort of focusing around outside of obviously the macro, so the Celestials and their whole to do. And I don't think it landed in that way or with her performance. I don't know if it was because, has she been a lead in anything before?
I think only in maybe like TV shows and
I mean like Hollywood.
Yeah, not Hollywood big stuff. Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, it felt like and then it's also just, it's not all her. There was all these forces around it, like the way the script is written, the way the film is marketed, the way that the story is constructed. Because the way the film is marketed, you would have never guessed that the story would come down to being about sort of a love story between Icarus and Cersei, and
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they didn't really. Yeah, the way they marketed, it didn't really have a main protagonist. It was like the group was the protagonist, essentially. Yeah, it was an ensemble type of thing. And then for them to kind of narrow in on her, which wasn't as compelling as some of the other Eternals, like the girl that was deaf, she was awesome. Even Druid, like his stuff, even his little scene stealing when he was around, he was actually chewing up as much. He didn't get much to work with, but when he was there, he definitely made his impact.
Oh, he was definitely my favorite because he got it. He gets it. I don't agree with his methods, but he gets it.
He's like, humans need to die.
They do not deserve what we are giving them, so I will control them.
Yeah, exactly. No, but he was good, man. He definitely did this thing. That's what's the guy's name? I'm looking it up right now. He was in Dunkirk. That's what he was from. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
Barry Keoghan. Yes. Yeah, he was in Dunkirk.
The movie where all the white people look alike.
And then also too, like Salma Hayek. She was like, dude, I needed more scenes with her. She was having fun.
Definitely needed more scenes with her. 100%.
Yeah, she was having a lot of fun. It was funny because I don't know why. I watched it on the plane. I watched The Hitman's Bodyguard's Wife or whatever with Selma and Samuel Jackson and Ryan Reynolds. It's definitely a watching the plane movie, but if you do watch it, it's actually really funny. And it's same thing. It's one of those people where like I think I'm enjoying more when I see actors that actually like making movies and they're having fun.
Really, like even back in the day when she was in Wild Wild West, like she showed how fun she could be. And that's like a terrible movie, but she just like enjoys being in those films and doing stuff that isn't just like, I don't know, whatever you would expect from a Salma Hayek. But she was really good and for what they had. But you're right. The irony is that the most interesting of the Celestials were kept off screen for a very long time. All that time that they had, runtime, we saw Makari, almost maybe 3 times in that movie. Probably
3 or 4 times.
And then and Festus is like, well, why? Where are they, man? Where are they? Where did they go?
You're definitely right. I think all the Eternals that were like more interesting were the ones that you didn't get to see that much. And so like
shout out to homie who played Fastos. Enjoyed Fastos thoroughly.
Brian. Shout out to Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah.
Oh man, all the Atlanta actors are out here making some good, out here. They doing the thing.
Hey man,
props.
They're super talented. Lakeith and Brian and obviously Donald, they're just like. That's why they can't do the show. They're getting all these roles and
yo, man, I'm sorry, too big.
Like,
too
man,
big
we've been promising season 3 for a long time, but we just can't. We can't do it. We got like 5 bookings spread out through the year.
Yeah, seriously. But no, you're right. I think that's the thing I would say. Like Eternals, they kind of wasted the most interesting Eternals, and then they kind of focused on the more boring ones, which was like
so boring.
Yeah, like Icarus. He's super OP. Literally,
Icarus wasn't boring.
He was better. I think he was better than Cersei. At least he had some more he had conflicts.
Well, that's credit to Richard Madden. Like I do think that character was written very, but at the same time, I think Richard Madden understood some. You could tell that acting, understanding the character to story ratio, because there's a moment where, and it's the final moment where he has sort of a moment of regret, where you could just see the sort of physical pains that he was going through in that moment. understanding his actions, where his actions had led, and what he had done, and all those things, and that was what made Icarus a little bit more interesting than he should have been, because otherwise,
yeah,
you just
pretty much, yeah. And I think that's I think overall, and on top of that, kind of like what you said, like if I didn't know that Chloe Zhao directed this, then I wouldn't know. I would think it would be some other random indie director that no one knew about. Like I don't think she really added much to it besides collecting her check so she can go. She did her blood oath so she can go do a Star Wars film, and she kept moving. Like,
but I don't know how any producer could be impressed by that to give her a Star Wars film, because to be quite honest, and this isn't. To be quite honest, there was nothing about. Usually, when directors do that, they go out of their way to at least make the composition, the photography, and the blocking and the direction itself stand out, even when the writing isn't as good, or if you're working with a situation where all you can do with this story is sort of make it visually palpable. And there are spots in that, but it's not. I don't think she put her signature on it enough to be like, okay, you can get a Star Wars film. As much as I have a problem with JJ in terms of him as a storytelling, he has a director's signature. That's Hollywood style. It's not. I wouldn't go as far as following him the whole tour. Yeah, but also just the understanding of composition, like the shot on the horizon where the freaking TIE fighters are coming down, like and descending on what I don't remember the planet in that movie, but descending on the. What is it, Jakku? Was it the Jakku? Was that one? So depending on Jakku, like that's like where I'm saying, like understand, like there was no moments like that in that movie. Not on the like one of the examples that I think I gave was when Dane Whitman, Sprite, and Cersei are leaving the bar or whatever it was, and then they get attacked by the big by Cujo from outer space and
the space dogs.
Yeah, from Cujo from outer space attacks them. There's no real setup to that visually. Like it just kind of like they're all in the frame. There's nothing that really makes a big deal out of, okay, here comes Cujo from outer space. He's ain't been showing up since a couple thousand years now. This should be a big deal. Not in the editing.
The setup for that scene, not to cut you off, I think the setup for that scene was him. What was the deviant popping its head out initially under the dock with the dog.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh no, I don't mean
that was the setup.
I mean, the scene.
That was not. That was. But I'm saying, I know what you're saying. But that was their setup, and it was a bad setup.
Well, I stand. Yeah, okay. So it proved my point. Yeah, she's running the very middle of the way. She need another Marvel movie, maybe a TV series. I don't think she's ready for the Star Wars film. That was my point. And as a director, I don't think she's ready for a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Not for the scale and scope that entails. Nah.
Yeah, because they're not going to just spoon feed her what she needs to do, like it did, like a Marvel movie will. Like these are the things that need to be in it. Like they'll let her run. They will let her. Run.
I'm surprised they didn't get like give her like a Mando episode or something like that. Cut her teeth to make sure like
the Boba Fett, like any of the TV series, because that's an opportunity to kind of put
your stamp on it in a small without wasting however was it, 200 mil probably for this movie.
I mean, I want to see her get it. But,
all right, so we'll go back again. We'll do it 1 out of 10. We'll start with Josh this time. What's your final score?
I gave it a 7.5. No, I gave it a 7. I'm gonna back off on the 7.5. It had a lot of potential. The parts were there, and it just didn't sell for me. It really didn't sell. It didn't sell as good as it could have. There were a lot of good parts. There were a lot of the cast was definitely for the most part there. Again, I love Gemma Chan. I love everything that she's been up to this. I did not love her in the role, so she was okay. And I know that she's capable of really, really, really dope work. Just across the board. And this just didn't, something about this just did not sit for me. Jon Snow, great. Rob Stark, awesome. I thought, but could have been as good as he was, could have been better. And the rest of the cast was great. The rest of the cast did pretty well. I don't want to kick it like, they did what they could with the script that they got. It wasn't that bad. No. But yeah, hard 7, firm 7. It could have been better. Oh, and we didn't even touch on Star Fox showing up at the end randomly for no reason.
Yeah, that was weird. But I'm not mad at the casting.
No, that was good.
Not bad with the casting or the characterization. He was definitely, flirty fly boy.
Yep. But you're right. But what are you doing here?
But it also
it was just things and just really ham-fisted on some. Hey, I'm Thanos' brother. Y'all name drop. I
hated that. That made no sense to me at all.
It didn't work. It did not work at all. It wasn't terrible, but it just didn't work the way that it was supposed to. Even Dane Whitman's the thing with the ebony blade at the end and what sounded like Mahershala Ali. Chatting him up at the end on some, you might not want to do that, brother. That worked. That was fine for me. But the Star Fox thing did not sail at all. It landed Pip showing up was great. And if you know the comics, Pip is almost always
Is Patton Oswalt
there side by side with
great casting again?
Yeah, he's always side by side with Star Fox, and the guy who plays Star Fox is he's supposed to be charismatic and power persuasion, literally.
Yep.
That's literally his power. So that worked. That worked well. I don't think it's a bad casting based on the little bit that he got. He sold it. But yeah, man, hard 7.
Yeah, I would
not great, but it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah,
that's what I keep saying to people. It was fine, but it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't great.
Yeah, I've been saying the same thing. People ask, I'm like, yo, it was fine. It was a mid-tier Marvel movie in the realm of like a Doctor Strange, where I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Captain Marvel.
I'm gonna give it a extra 0.5 for my man Rob Stark and Jon Snow actually having fun. I didn't realize it was Rob Stark until like 5 minutes ago. Honestly, sad.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know why they put that connection together. I was like, what?
Even with the southern accent.
But yeah, like I said, it was just fine. Like I think. I was laughing because the takes were so like blatantly like one way or the other. It's like, yo, man, it was fine. Like they're like, oh, this is horrible. This was this and blah blah blah. Like, nah, it wasn't great, but it wasn't freaking Captain Marvel, which is my barometer for worst MCU movies.
It is,
that's just. And as my friend said, he's like, what is better, Captain Marvel or Wonder Woman? And I was like, Wonder Woman, but I had to pause. That third act of Wonder Woman is atrocious.
We'll have to do a show where I'm
so quick question. Quick question. What was better, Wonder Woman 1984 or Captain Marvel?
Don't make me choose. Damn.
I'll answer that one for you. Captain Marvel.
Oh, thank you, D'Angelo, for not making me say that out loud.
Yeah, I knew you.
Captain Marvel was still worse?
Oh, you mean worse?
No.
Yeah, which one was worse? Yeah, sorry, which one? Which one was better? Yeah, sorry.
Better, Captain Marvel is the better movie.
Oh,
like you said, I'm not saying that out loud so I can be on record.
Yeah, well,
holding ground.
Well, that's
all right.
fine. But
D'Angelo, I'll let you have the final for this one.
Okay.
Mission accomplished. I made you pause. That was what I wanted. I'm very happy.
Hate you.
So, It was very middle of the road. You guys excuse that. I won't. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. Simply because of all the things that we said. At this point, I expect more from them. I'm sorry. I expect more from Marvel. They earned that, so I'm not gonna let them off the hook because they got all this built up goodwill. I'm not saying it was a horrible movie that people shouldn't see it, but I do think that it was very weak in like every category except the performances. The script was very one-dimensional. You don't really get a sense of where this could potentially go. You're not excited about where it could potentially go. At least I wasn't in the end. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of too much exposition. All these things to me just took away from that overall film. My nephew fell asleep on it, and he was awake for all of Dune. Wow. and the only reason I say that is because, again, Dune is a much more complex narrative to, get into, and for, a teenager to stay alert. So the fact that he's napping over here with the Eternals, I'm just like, I took a point for him. And you get the nephew scale. 6.5 out of 10. It does not get any. It's lucky because at first when I left the theater, I was thinking 5 out of 10, middle of the way, middle. You get that, but because I was listening to the fellas, and I am not so pig-headed where I will not be fair, I added a half a point to the 6 that I gave it. And there you go. 6.5 out of 10 is my verdict on the Eternals.
Right. Okay, you heard it here. Eternals is fine.
Eternals should try again. That's my last statement. Yep. Sorry, try again.
Nice. All right, well, that's our time for Eternals, and we are out. Peace.